So recently, I've observed a trend that honestly I feel like started sometime last year or so, maybe a little bit sooner, but it's been happening pretty consistently. And I thought it was really interesting to bring to your attention. Now, I haven't figured out the best way to name this yet, but it's like one of those little pipeline things, like the vegan to carnivore pipeline or the nuisance streamer to convicted felon pipeline, something like that. And in this case, it's like a nice guy to turbo douchebag pipeline. And in this case, we're going to be talking about three known perpetrators of this in the last year, and that would be Cody Ko. Of course, we all know what happened with him, right? Came off as a nice dude. Lots of people enjoyed his content, seemed like a real good chap, and then he was hit with allegations of statutory rape against Hannah Monjo when she was underage, and he was roughly 25 years old, which is grossly inappropriate, obviously. And one thing that he did, unlike these others on the list, was he just didn't even address it. He pulled the Mr. Beast tactic of, if I ignore it, I'm sure it'll go away. And the thing is, it hasn't gone away, but truth be told, people really aren't talking about it anymore, and he's kind of just allowed to get by on one of his alternate channels, making content and muting all comments that criticize him about what he did, and just leaving the comments that glaze him and make him feel good about himself. So, in other words, he gets to walk away with a massive W despite having committed a pretty atrocious action against an underage individual at Hannah Monjo, obviously. But we'll talk about that in a little bit. And then, of course, we had Ned Fulmer, who was the wife guy of the Try Guys team, and he decided he wanted to try another woman. He wanted to try cheating, He was like, we're not above trying everything, right, guys? You'll understand. But in reality, they weren't about that. They're like, you can try this, you can try that, but you cannot try cheating on your wife with one of our fucking producers. That was crossing a line for the Try Guys, and people naturally kind of stopped supporting Ned entirely because, he obviously had a family, he had kids, a wife that, loved him dearly, and he betrayed them, betrayed his fans, betrayed the Try Guys, and made an absolute clown of himself, a total ass. And then we have Caleb Hammer, who recently got into some controversy that could have been very career damaging, but even though he pretty much got away scot-free because he scrubbed the internet clean of pretty much all the evidence of him being a piece of shit, it didn't come without its problems. And the biggest thing was that he showed his whole ass, right? He showed his full deck of cards, everything he's been playing with up until this point, and the mask has come off, and he has revealed himself as same type of douchebag as the rest of the people on this list. In fact, Caleb Hammer might even be worse as he continues to prey on people who are in financial struggles, women especially. There's a whole story about how he got banned from dating apps for really uncomfortable, fake nice guy incel behavior that is truly dangerous. But anyway, let's start with case number one, that being Cody Ko. Just kind of break this down in simple terms. Cody Ko is about 25 years old, Hannah Monjo about 17, and they met up at some sort of party. Now, there was allegations that he was allegedly infatuated with her, for a while. But even before we start talking about that, what you need to understand is Cody Ko was a very, very beloved creator, even to the point where when his controversy came out, there was a lot of people who didn't even want to touch it, didn't want to talk about it. People would normally talk about just about anything or expose anybody. But Cody Ko almost had this shield, this protection because of how loved he was, and nobody expected him to turn out to be one of these douchebags. But in reality, let's be honest, the breadcrumbs were always there and the clues were always there. I mean, we had evidence and simply just how he talked about money, for instance, of how out of touch he was. And the thing is, he also felt that he was untouchable. Now, when it came down to this incident, it was some time ago, but that doesn't make it any less problematic. Now, they met up, at some sort of party, and he already knew her, I'm pretty sure. And Gabby Hanna was actually there, and he was getting all flirtatious with Tana, and she pulled him aside and warned him that she was underage. Now, we don't know what her exact words were at the time, but when she was reporting on this, she had said that, specifically, she had said that she was underage. And Gabby would know because they were friends at the time, Gabby and Tana. And he's like, oh, okay, cool. And then proceeded to do the devil's tango that same night, despite knowing that it was illegal, despite knowing that she was underage, technically a child according to the law, and did not give a shit about it.
I told a guy, I saw him making out with a girl at a party who was underage, and I pulled him aside and I was like, hey man, you probably don't know, I know she like looks a little older, she's underage, watch it. And he's like, oh my God, thank you for telling me. And then he turned.
Yeah, that's probably a clip that maybe you've seen before, maybe you haven't. It's a pretty difficult to find clip, honestly. It's not an easy one to locate. So maybe you hadn't seen it. But yeah, she was talking about Cody Ko and Hannah Monjo the night that he decided that he didn't give a shit about the law, doesn't matter, or he did not care about Gabby's warning either. And he was exposed for this by Tana herself. And she wasn't doing it as like, motivation to take down him or, destroy his career. She just wanted to tell her story, to say her piece about it, because to be fair, she was a victim. No matter how you spin it, no matter how you look at it, she was a victim. She could not consent. She was not above the age of consent, and therefore she was taken advantage of. And Cody Ko, instead of manning up, obviously, like he should have, and taken responsibility for his actions, he just decided to zip it and mute anybody who would dare speak on it in his videos. And this is Tana basically, in one instance, talking about what happened.
What's happening in life right now with the universe, but I'm learning a lesson once again that I've learned so many times about I can't just be saying shit. And I don't want to blame myself here for this situation, but it's like I'm now in this position to have to address it because there I went again saying shit, and it's just a classic case of I say something fleeting in the ways that I say something, and then it is taken very seriously because I'm usually trauma dumping and breadcrumbing with a giggle.
Yeah, and
right?
It usually is pretty serious, and we're just so flippant about it, and we'll just like talk some shit.
And that's always how I've just dealt with shit or made light of shit. Like I'm just the type of person who does say things in a very like flippant manner, and then it's like, oh fuck, no, nobody else is laughing.
Yeah,
like even just in real life, I'll say some crazy shit, and I'm like, ha ha, ha, and they're like,
yeah,
are you good? And it's just like, it's how I am. But we were on tour, we were saying a bunch of shit on stage in a bunch of different games, and we thought we could trust the people as we had the whole tour. Because it really was like at every other show, we were saying the craziest shit about people, and it wasn't being brought to light. And however, I understand that this isn't just some crazy tea. It was a crime.
Yeah.
And I've tried to talk about this a million times, and I feel like I never have the right words. But it's everywhere all over the internet, and I know people want me to talk about it, and I'm going to do my best right now, I mean, I hooked up with Cody Ko when I was 17 and he was 25. Yeah. It happened.
So yeah, she said it there in plain English, exactly what, had been alleged. And Cody literally never addressed it. Now he put out an apology, in quotations, basically being like, hey guys, sorry I haven't made videos in a while. I'm gonna do more of that, I promise. And I know there's some things out there being said about me. And if you, don't want to support me anymore, that sucks. Darn. Anyway, see you later. I have an Iron Man to do. That was his response, which has to be the most cowardly douchebag response of all time.
Few months, made videos for, that whole time. And I also understand if your opinion of me has potentially changed over the last few months. I spent the first half of my career criticizing people and judging people online. So, I don't begrudge your judgment of me by any means. I just think all I can do right now moving forward is just try to be the best person I can be for myself and for my family, and just try to continue putting the best shit out there that I can. So that's what I'm going to do. And if you stick around to watch it, I very much appreciate it from the bottom of my heart, truly.
Anyway, so that was wow, a really fat, juicy nothing burger, full of absolute nothingness, topped with nothing on top. It was incredible, truly incredible. But it spells out exactly why he is in this video. He's a part of this nice guy to douchebag pipeline, because that's how a lot of people think of him now. And obviously it's one thing to, commit statutory rape. Obviously that's a problem in and of itself, but then to not own up to it, to not apologize, to not actually address it, to ignore it, to act like it wasn't something that even occurred to begin with. Especially as a legitimate adult, like he's not like a fake adult, he's not freshly 18. He's a real adult, right? Like bro has lived, for a third of a century, and still couldn't find the ability to actually address this properly. It's pretty humiliating and shameful, to say the least. Now, next we're going to talk about Ned Fulmer. And Ned is pretty much thrown into hot water for cheating on his wife after branding himself as the wife guy, because there was nothing else particularly interesting about him. For most people, they would say he was their least favorite of the Try Guys, because they just felt like there wasn't a whole lot of interesting things to the guy. So he clung on to the wife guy persona, which correlates to the whole nice guy image, right? It's like, oh, look at how nice he is and how cool he is, him and his wife, that's his number one, that's his best friend, he's an awesome, cool guy, we love him. And then it turns out that he had been cheating on his wife with one of their fucking producers, of all people, for an extended period of time. And when he finally gets caught, like, he doesn't even really seem particularly remorseful. It seems like the only thing he cares about is saving face. But he gets dropped from the Try Guys, he tries to do a podcast. That all fails. It all comes crumbling down, crashing to the surface, and he fails to really make anything out of himself. And then he decides that he wants to bring on a therapist and talk about it all, but you'll see what I mean in just a second.
Dude, feels a little awkward.
Yeah. Back in a podcasting room.
Yeah.
I mean, we've certainly had a lot of conversations where we've sat like this.
Yeah, that's true.
But not, conversations that are meant for the public.
Mm-hmm. Is it strange to think that people are watching this and listening to it rather than just being in like a therapy setting?
Oh, heck yeah. It's terrifying.
Yeah.
It's absolutely, yeah. I mean, I'm on the verge of like standing up and walking out of this room. Absolutely.
Same.
I'm like, what the hell am I doing? What am I doing? But no, I feel like this is a necessary thing. People ask me, like, do you forgive Ned for what he did? And I mean, the answer is no, absolutely not. How can you forgive somebody for lying to you, for cheating on you? No, fuck no.
Yeah, go ahead and say it. That was some of the most awkward seconds, minutes of your life, right? Go ahead and say it. I feel it too, okay? I feel like you and I just had the most unappealing moments of our lives watching this shit. And that's totally fine to feel that way, because was it ever going to be anything but that? Absolutely not. Now, some people were like, why the hell would she agree to be on this podcast? Turns out it was possibly her idea, that she wanted to, get the story out there and not give Ned the ability to spin the narrative however he wanted to. She wanted to be the one, to put the narrative out there so that people don't get anything mixed up, don't get it twisted. And this was a huge step in the wrong direction for Ned, because things continue to go downhill like a landslide for the guy. But it seemed like he couldn't quite understand why he did the things that he did, so he had to have a therapist come on the podcast to explain why do people cheat, why he done it.
All three of these parties in an affair end up devastated. I'm wondering, back in the beginning, why do people cheat? Why does this happen in the first place? How does it kind of start as a almost runaway train?
The $1 million question. Everyone wants to know, why do we cheat?
So the therapist essentially explains, because she was cheated on, so she's a victim of that herself. And she wanted to get a good understanding of why the fuck her husband done it. And so she did, a little bit of research and read some books and, kind of pieced together this whole kind of sphere of ideas as to why, people cheat, how it affects all the parties involved, and all that good, wonderful, yummy stuff. And Ned just ate that shit up like a bowl of cereal. Was absolutely loving it. He loves a good scapegoat. He loves being able to say, you know what? It's not really my fault. It's my past trauma. Clearly there's something that happened in my history that I must be, suppressing, that has resulted in me being a cheating piece of shit. It's really not me, it's really someone else's fault. We don't know who, but somebody else, that sort of idea. Anyway, this wasn't the end of Ned Fulmer's douchebaggery, because he went on to start harassing a kid, which is odd because, some kid made a video about him talking about his cheating scandal and all that good stuff. And Ned allegedly wasn't feeling that. So he had some things to say and decided to send the attack bots after the kid. Allegedly, we don't know this for a fact, but let's see what you think.
People, including Ned, who had one of the most childish responses that I've ever seen, including sending thousands of bots to harass and give me death threats, and making YouTube take down my video. This is the story of Ned Fulmer's fall from glory as a star student at Yale to how he's threatening and harassing minors. Just a little disclaimer, there are some heavy 2026. Ned Fulmer bonded over 1,500 comments across 3 separate videos of mine.
Now, I just need to emphasize that these claims are not, substantiated. We don't have proof that Ned is the one that sent these attack bots. It's possible that somebody spent their own hard-earned money to do it on Ned's behalf, but I have a hard time believing that there's somebody out there who would do that. But granted, there's somebody out there who would do just about anything. So, hey, maybe it was just a die-hard Ned Fulmer supporter who just couldn't handle seeing their dearest Ned being bullied by some kid on the internet, so they had to do something about it. Now, Ned didn't exactly deny these claims like in a Twitter post or anything, and we know that this guy has seen it because I think he did have some sort of response to this in some way, shape, or form, or alluded to it. I'm really not 100% certain. Either way, this kid was attacked by some bots, had videos removed. Literally could have been something that whoever did this to him could have been sued over because there were damages. These videos were monetized, and therefore this came after his income. You can argue that there were damages. Anyway, that's really it for Ned, what I want to talk about. But after getting through Caleb Hammer, I kind of want to bring everything back and kind of talk about all the similarities between these three and how they all kind of share the same trend that I've been noticing on the internet as of the last year or so. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see some more creators kind of unintentionally join this weird streak. And in fact, there was another I talked about by Cody Ko Fitness, who branded himself as a safe space influencer, but I'm not going to go into detail about him. But essentially, he was put under fire for talking ill of some disabled people, as well as using some pretty harsh language against others that should not have been said, and allegedly having a strange criminal history of assaults against women. But if you want to know more about him, I've got some videos you can go watch, and there you go. Anyway, let's get on to Caleb. Now, just in case you don't know much about the guy, he runs a channel called Financial Audit. That's his, his show or whatever. And he essentially gives people financial advice in quotations, because he doesn't actually do that. It's more of like a Jerry Springer show where they just kind of exploit people who have financial troubles for their own benefit, for their own gain. And D'Angelo Wallace had found this problematic and made a live stream talking about it and exposing Caleb for the POS he actually is. And Caleb did not like that, so he responded to D'Angelo's response, which eventually Caleb deleted his own response because he became an absolute unhinged lunatic in that video. But it showed his true colors, and as a result, people have really changed their tune on the guy. Now, while there's plenty of people who still continue to support him, his situation really hasn't changed for the worse, but he has revealed his full hand and has solidified his place amongst the nice guy to douchebag pipeline goofballs like Ned Fulmer and Cody Ko.
Tell them how crazy the episode's gonna be and how the thumbnails and titles are gonna be, and we ask if they're okay with it. They consented, you didn't, you don't matter. It doesn't matter what you think, you fucking weirdo using my name to get views. What is wrong with you, you pathetic fuck who can't do any research whatsoever? You're a loser.
Oh, it's bad. It's bad. This is a bad response. I
don't hate gay people. We have, someone say, too many gays working at this company. No, that's a joke again. You read a title that is outrageous and silly and you say I'm homophobic? You say I'm sexist? No, you're fucking retarded. That's the only real thing here.
Ooh, all right. Whipping out our first slur. Let's go. Or let's not go, because this is just actually really tiring. The longer
you are a negative force in this world. You fucking stupid piece of over sensationalizing shit. You have done no research. You have ruined your career. What is wrong with you? D'Angelo, dude, you are a broken individual. You have no ability to actually understand what people are saying. People like this actually need to be held accountable for the fact that they just say things and then they move on and there's no consequences. You're a bad person, D'Angelo. That is an actual lie.
Yeah, Caleb's whole thing is that he gets consent to roast people, insult them, use slurs against them, etc. But then he also goes off on these rants and tangents where he attacks people, uses slurs against them, basically crashes out without the person's consent either. So it makes you question whether or not consent actually means anything to him, which I can't really go into detail about this because it's more of a story that I'd have to read to you than like video. But I do have a video about this, talking about how Caleb Hammer essentially ruined his dating life. And that is how he got himself banned from all dating apps temporarily, because, having money and connections can change that in the blink of an eye. But it was because he essentially got involved with a date of his, lied to her about where he lived, convinced her to go to his home where he tried to hook up with her, which was never a part of the contract. She had never expressed interest in that. In fact, he had said that that was not his goal and assured her of that as a way to get her to come to his home. And while there, he made her extremely uncomfortable. The whole situation was absolutely atrocious that she had to write about it on Reddit. And this kind of branded Caleb in a certain light that didn't look very good for him, to say the least. But if you want to know more about that, like I said, I do have a video about it that you can go check out at any point. Now, regarding his attack on D'Angelo, he was threatening to sue him. And the thing is, this whole thing was looking like a reputation disaster. But he quickly got his PR team involved and they scrubbed it clean. Deleted all of his live videos, completely rebranded parts of his channels, and then never spoke on this again. And now they're just trying to hide that side of Caleb and continue with the grift that has been working. But either way, even that grift alone shows the whole picture, as he started off doing genuinely good, helpful content, trying to assist people with their financial needs, not berating people, not turning them into a spectacle, and actually providing something of genuine value. But it has been deteriorated to a point where now his show is nothing more but a little drama, like Jerry Springer, where you come on there to be embarrassed, to be berated, to be insulted, to be turned into a joke, with the promise that maybe you might get a little bit of help with your finances at the end of it. In which case, this has been extremely exploitative. And the fact of the matter is, Caleb has admitted that his guests sign NDAs, that they are not allowed to speak about what they experience on his show or whatever it is without, his approval. And that alone makes it pretty clear that there's something extremely sketchy and problematic going on in this entire thing. Now, the last bit that we're going to look at that just shows everything you really need to know about the guy, puts it all together, is this segment that D'Angelo talks about how Caleb had no problem sexualizing a 14-year-old and talking about doing sexual acts with them, while being told by others in this group chat that the person was underage, and he seemed to just not give a shit, similar to how Cody Ko did not give a shit about Tana being underage.
So I was like, okay, what jokes are we talking about here? You were in live chats. I guess this user super ho diddly ho would be Caleb screenshotting pictures of people saying he's hot, is he gay, please, being told he's 16 and no, perv, talking about, oh, but the age of consent is 16. By the way, y'all are saying like, oh, this is from a decade ago. No, it wasn't. 8 years ago was not a decade ago. You're 23 years old talking about kids like this. I would like to personally stick my penis in the hole of his. Any hole will do. Thank you. Being told, Caleb, dude, the person you're talking about is like 14. Caleb saying, nah, he's actually probably older than that. If it's legal to be with 17-year-olds there, it's legal here. Being told, Caleb, you're 23. This is gross. Not really. Well, I'm 50 and I find a sexy 21-year-old and I could be his sugar daddy. I will do it. Or her sugar daddy. By the way, I already know I'm gonna get the worst human beings you've ever known in my comments talking about actually being 23 and making sexual comments about 14-year-olds wouldn't be pedophilia, because technically, don't get me banned off.
I think you've heard what you needed to hear at this point and don't need to hear any more. But I think it's important to talk about what exactly does this mean. I think what's really interesting is I know there's probably even more creators who I haven't talked about, who have just yet to really show their true colors. These people masquerading as nice guys. Now, obviously, Caleb Hammer's gone full mask off, right? He's not even trying to pretend anymore. But with people like Ned and people like Cody Ko and, Scotty K Fitness, that's a part of their identity. And they've effectively tricked people into believing that, they're these very great, good people, trustworthy, safe, and all of that. Even like Shane Dawson, in a way, even though he's always been problematic, but he put on a mask eventually after being exposed. It's like, look how nice I am. I'm so sweet, guys. I just made little mistakes in the past. I didn't mean it. I didn't mean to hurt anybody. And it's like, it's all fake. It's all showmanship. We've seen their true colors many times before. And so honestly, people like Shane Dawson are probably close to what I would call like the ground zero of this trend. But it's interesting seeing it unfold and become more prevalent here in 2025, 2026. So I want to know what you guys think about this. Is this something we're going to be seeing even more of going forward? Will this be the year of exposing the fake nice guys of social media? I don't know, but it seems to be happening. Anyway, I'll see you all next time.